Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we are available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire Television, and of course YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headline. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. And this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in the LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community.
We're a part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 37 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television, news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor Rajee Narine-Singh, a famous transgender activist, actress, author, mystic, and reality TV personality. She's of multiracial descent, and she has appeared on more than 35 television shows across the globe. Welcome, Rajee.
Thank you. It's great to be back, and I see I have a sister with me on the show tonight.
That's so nice of you to call me that.
I love it. Let's see. Okay, let's welcome anchor Ryan Hurst. Ryan is the Senior Manager, Gifts and Events Officer for the National LGBTQ Task Force. He has worked in social justice for over 10 years with organizations like Lambda Legal Defense and Education Fund and People for the American Way Foundation. If you are interested in advancing LGBTQ+ freedom and equality, then now is the time to register for the Task Force 2023 Creating Change Conference on February 17th through the 22nd in San Francisco. Creating Change is the nation's foremost political leadership and skills building conference for the LGBTQ movement. Welcome, Ryan.
Good evening, everyone. Let's welcome anchor Adrianna Tender. Adrianna is a transgender advocate and healthcare practitioner. She has extensive education and experience in HIV prevention and healthcare that relates to transgender individuals. She currently works as the program coordinator with Trans Inclusive Group and is the owner of Tender, Loving Care Trans Mentoring. She received the Bishop S.F. Makalani Mahi Transgender Advocate Award in 2019 and has received many other awards. She serves on the National Board of Governors of the Human Rights Campaign and is on the Board of Directors for the Dolphin Democrats and Black LGBTQ Liberation. She is a member of several civic and political organizations like the NAACP, the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus, and attends Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. Welcome, Adrianna.
Thank you so much. Let's welcome anchor Jeff Oliveiro. Jeff is a founder and treasurer of the Hollywood LGBTQ+ Council, a unique community civic organization in Greater Hollywood. The Council will be hosting the second annual My Hollywood Pride on January 29th, 2023. He is also the co-chair for the 2023 National LGBTQ Task Force Gala. The gala, along with its sister event, Winter Party Festival, has given back more than $3.3 million to the local LGBTQ community organizations. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Happy to be here. Also want to mention this Thursday coming up in downtown Hollywood at Mickey Burns, we have our annual Ugly or Fabulous sweater, which will be serving as a kickoff event leading up to My Hollywood Pride in January 2023. So come out, bring your most fabulous or ugly sweater.
Jeff, I'm curious, are you in the ugly category or the fabulous category?
I'll be in the plain category because I'm going to visit family, and it's really upsetting that I'm going to be missing that because it's one of my favorite events.
All right, but I'm curious, we got to take it one step farther. If, news guy, we got to get to the truth. If you were there, are you in the ugly category or the fabulous category?
I came up with the fabulous category when we launched this event a few years ago because I said, who wants to wear those ugly sweaters? I said, we're the queer community. We don't want ugly
So you
sweaters.
Added the fabulousness.
Yes,
Got
exactly.
It.
But we are open to everyone.
Yes.
We are inclusive.
We are very diverse. Okay, got it.
And we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, December 13th, 2022.
Well, let's begin by queering up breaking news. Queer News Tonight was live at the White House ceremony for Respect for Marriage signing. Today was historic. At 3 p.m. Eastern, Queer News Tonight broadcast at the South Lawn of the White House for the President's signing ceremony of the Respect for Marriage Act. Anchors and longtime activists Todd and Jeff Delmay reported at the White House. As our audience knows, they were the plaintiffs of the 2014 action that was argued before the Florida Supreme Court to make same-sex marriage legal in the state of Florida. The at times boisterous outdoor event featuring legendary performers like Sam Smith and Cyndi Lauper and a literal who's who of American LGBTQ plus civil rights representatives from the communities of business, equality organizations, Congress, cabinet, and more. Highlights was a spontaneous moment where the crowd literally turned to the cameras and began to wave in celebration. Vice President Harris talked about her participation in the 2004 marriage at San Francisco City Hall, and then the fight to later repeal the passage of Proposition 8. Harris talked about President Biden and how he has promoted LGBTQ plus representation to every level of the federal government. And of course, the highlight of the signing ceremony was President Biden's near 20-minute remarks that recognized marriage equality plaintiffs like Todd and Jeff Delmay and all of those that have worked to make this moment possible. We will show you the Delmay reporting shortly. Today may have been one of the most important in LGBTQ plus history, as it is the first time that LGBTQ plus civil rights are not granted by a judge, but rather codified in federal law. This is live breaking news from Queer News Tonight. In just moments, we are going to go to the White House for President Joe Biden's signing ceremony of the historic Respect for Marriage Act. Today, Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, may be the most important date so far in LGBTQ plus civil rights.
On June 28, 2015, the Supreme Court ruled in a historic 5-4 vote in the Obergefell versus Hodges decision to make same-sex marriages legal in the United States.
You know, in context, it's a proud moment for us here at Queer News Tonight. First off, we're broadcasting this story, which may be one of the most important in American history, codifying through the House of Representatives, through the Senate, through the conference, reconciliation between the two, and now we're watching the signing ceremony of President Joe Biden of this. First time it's codified. Very important because we have won in the courts. And over the last number of decades, we've won many cases in front of judges, and now finally there's codification of marriage. The other thing that's interesting here as we watch these images at the White House is the anchor reporting that we are having from Todd and Jeff Delmay. I just think it's incredibly interesting that they were the context of the 2014 Florida Supreme Court case that ultimately overturned making marriage unconstitutional because it was passed in 2008 by 62% of the voters, and their case that they helped win in 2014, ultimately giving gay marriage the first week in January of 2015. Later, 6 months later, they watch the U.S. Supreme Court do it for all 50 states, and now today they're reporting for Queer News Tonight at the White House, seeing the final continuation of this process of civil rights for the LGBTQ community as it relates to marriage. I just can't imagine what's going through Todd and Jeff's mind in terms of where we are today.
And it's exciting to note that they were the ones supposed to be discussing this right now, but because they were part of that landmark case, they were actually asked to stand with the president as he signs this. So they are going to be on TV behind President Biden as he's doing the signing. Then we'll be talking to them afterward.
This is life, it's clear to see. But darling, stay with me.
Okay. Well, this time, love wins. It's hard to take a ride in a world full of goodbye. You can lose sight of it all in the darkness, so inside you make it feel so small. But I see your true colors shine through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you.
Thank you to everyone on the hard-fought victory generations in the making. It's been a long road, but we got it done. We're going to continue the work ahead, I promise you. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. And now, let me sign the Respect for Marriage Act into law.
Well, today is a very, very big day, and I predict Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, a decade from now, 50 years from now, this day will be recognized as one of the most important in LGBTQ history. Did we get everything we wanted? No, we didn't. This is not the Equality Act. But in terms of codifying marriage and protecting marriage in the United States, it's the springboard of getting to an Equality Act, for example. But it stops people like Clarence Thomas in his tracks. It stops him. And that's really big. I could not help but also recognize as we were doing this broadcast, we were David Hopkins anchoring with me prior to the ceremony, and then Todd and Jeff. We have many pictures. Perhaps we can show some of them of Jeff and Todd today reporting at the White House for Queer News Tonight. It was interesting to me how boisterous the event was. It was a very big celebration event. I've already heard today from many of our friends saying, wow, this was really a fun event to watch, and it really was celebratory in what went on. One of the other things that I thought was really poignant, there was a great round of applause and a standing ovation for Nancy Pelosi. And it was a moment of, it was a beautiful moment because it talked about the very first speech that Nancy Pelosi made on the House floor when she first came to the House like 440 years ago.
Oh my God.
of talking about LGBT rights. Her first words on the floor at the House was about LGBT. Her final act that she gets passed is Respect for Marriage Act from San Francisco, our mythical Oz home. It was just beautifully symbolic today. It was a privilege for me in any slight way to participate in this, and we were really happy to bring this to the LGBTQ community because we were virtually the only place in the United States that was able to do something like this. We thank Jeff and Todd Delmay for helping make it possible. What did y'all think about what we watched today?
Well, I would
go ahead, please.
Oh no, I was going to say, I definitely, as far as Nancy Pelosi, it was definitely a full circle moment. I mean, to think she started there and that was her first speech about LGBTQ plus rights, and then now at the end, and this was really refreshing to me because after, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, I was thinking, oh my God, they're coming for...
Oh, they for sure. For sure.
And so, yeah.
This is a day for the activists and the organizers, for generations of activists and organizers, that today at the White House, LGBTQ people, transgender people, people in drag were on the White House lawn watching this historic bill be signed into law. All of those people who have worked for generations to win hearts and minds to make this day possible, this day is for them. And, watching this story it made the hairs on my arms stand up. It gave me goosebumps. I remember when I first started college, the first thing that got me into politics was watching then President George W. Bush give his State of the Union address and call on the United States Congress to pass a constitutional amendment to define marriage as between one man and one woman and discriminate against us in the United States Constitution. To go from that to then seeing Joe Biden as vice president come out before his president, Barack Obama, in support of same-sex marriage, and then get to see him today sign the Respect for Marriage Act into law. Man, what a powerful, powerful journey we've been on. And it's because of all of the people who've put their blood, sweat, and tears into that.
Absolutely.
I want to first say this is really personal for me, seeing two of my best friends on the White House lawn who put their lives on the line for the LGBTQ community here in Florida and across the country. What Jeff and Todd Delmay did, which was open up their lives, put themselves at risk, their family at risk, to fight for marriage equality in Florida, and now to see this on the lawn of the White House when they received the invitation, and I got a text message about it. As the hairs were standing up, I had tears in my eyes because I knew what a big day it was for them, and I knew how much they gave of their personal lives, and I can only tell you it's a lot that they gave of their personal lives and an intrusion of their personal lives to get to where they are today. So it's historic, it's a wonderful day, and I think, again, the fight isn't over, but it's good to celebrate the victories when we have them.
Today when we were preparing, as David said in the broadcast, we were completely live. Todd and Jeff were planned to do that, but they got surprised with the inclusion that they had. In our full broadcast today, you see them behind the president, and they're with approximately 20 plaintiffs from around the United States of different court cases that were really critical. And so as a result, their phones are taken away and you can't do. And so our immediate plan, they've done it after now the event, and we're going to show that to you of the reporting that they did on the White House lawn, but they couldn't do it in advance. So David and I are helping in terms of the setup of the incorporation of this. During the reporting this afternoon, we talked extensively about Florida. And you think about, we start in 1977 when the Miami anti-LGBT ordinance comes into effect, and then the state's issue of creating the no same-sex marriage prohibition by the Florida House and the Florida Senate, with the leader that drafted that rule saying publicly after its passage it was designed to tell the gay community to go back in the closet and stay there. Wow. I've done almost an exact quote. That was, I know. And then in 2008, we remind you that Florida passed Amendment 2, 62% to make gay marriage, same-sex marriage, unconstitutional, just in 2008. And then Todd Delmay and Jeff Delmay come along in 2014 to be the plaintiffs to overturn that by the Florida Supreme Court. And then 6 months later, we get it in the U.S. Supreme Court, and marriage is the law of the land. Those are great, incredible events. I just remind everybody, I love both observations that were said. Today is an amazing day.
It is.
Because it's not a judge doing it. That's why it's amazing. We have fought and fought in Florida since 1977. Today, a big door of that fight of 40 years closes because of the codification of federal law. And it just concerns me a little that some of the voices in LGBT go, that's not enough. And it diminishes where we are today. No, you're not taking that away from me or anyone else. Today is humongously important for our community.
Yeah. So I'll agree with that. It's not enough, but it is monumental. I remember maybe like 15, 20 years ago, talking to my sister, and I'm like, one day it's going to be the law of the land that gay people are going to be able to be married. And she was like, no, that'll never happen. It'll never happen. And like you said, it's one thing for our president to come out and say, oh, this is going to happen, or the judges to say it's going to happen, but for the country and for everyone to vote on that, and for them to say that, this is what the majority of the people in the country want, it's monumental.
I'm curious to everyone at the table. When you watch this, and we talk about the history of this fight over the longevity, the National Task Force has been central, Hollywood Council has been central, pride organizations like My Hollywood Pride have been central, the HRC has been central, Trans Inclusive has been central, Transsocial. Do you think moments like today give hope to the trans community? That this is something we're going to see down the road, that this same length of fight, eventually we are going to win the fight. Does it give you hope today?
I think it does. I think it does. Every little step that the LGBTQ community makes, I think it's a step for us in the trans community. Sometimes us in the trans community, we feel that we're alone. A lot of times when, they have the Don't Say Gay and all the things that just affect the gay or lesbian community, you don't see the same impact and the support from other people for trans issues, like the Board of Medicine with the Florida Department of Health. They're taking away our ability to get trans health care and all of the other things that are going on in the trans community. But it does bring hope, and hopefully we'll get the same support as the LGBTQ community.
And well, I always remind people in our community, same boat, different compartments. Because I think that, other parts of the community think, oh, we're separate. Like, you trans people, that's a whole other issue. And so I remind people that, listen, there's power in unity, and whether you want to be clumped together with us or not, the world clumps us together. LGBTQ. We're put together. And so I think that this is wonderful, because if, let's say, there wasn't protection, right? Then the focus would have been on, oh my gosh, fighting for gay marriage again. And we trans people probably would have been pushed to the side, I mean, that might, I mean, that might sound a little selfish, but I just know, because,
Very good point.
Yeah, because, I mean, for so long, we've been like the bottom of the totem pole. And, look, from Stonewall, we were kind of pushed to the side, and gay rights came along, and the lesbian with the women's movement and all of that.
It is a reminder before we move on to Ryan. Just one final reminder of the significance today. Again, I will say it out loud. A judge did not make this decision. Virtually every Democrat. I will say every Democrat. There was a few people that weren't present for various reasons, but every Democrat and a reasonable number of Republicans in bipartisan support made this happen in the House and made it happen in the Senate. And then in conference coming back together to make it happen, then a Joe Biden signing what we did today. That is historic. Historic on December 13th, 2022, that a judge did not do this. And also, I ask the question broadly, I think it sends signals of hope for our entire community. And the reason I do is we told the story of Florida today from 1977 and Anita Bryant days to December 13th, 2022, and what we watched today. In just 2008, just 14 years ago, 62% of Floridians voted to make same-sex marriage unconstitutional. Just 14 years ago. And today, 70+% of Floridians support same-sex marriage. That is a gigantic swing of our cultural thinking in Florida and really all over America in just 14 years. There's hope. Today shows hope for everyone of L and G and B, T. By the way,
yes,
it shows hope for everybody.
It does.
It's a great day for our community. A great day.
Al, if I could share just one final thought on the hope piece before moving on, and I'm going to speak right to the camera for this one. As a gay, cisgender, white guy, if we want to give hope to the trans community, then by our words and by our actions, our deeds, we need to show that we are standing with the trans community. Yes. Because too many times in our history, we have been willing to forego the trans community in order to advance our own civil rights. And that is not okay. We are all in this boat together. We are one LGBTQ family. We are beautiful. We are diverse. We need to stand together.
Hear, hear. Completely.
Thank you for that.
Great message.
Yeah.
All right, well now let's queer up drag culture. RuPaul's Drag Race leaves VH1. Season 15 premiere details. RuPaul's Drag Race, a show that's become a global phenom, is switching things up again. Today, in a tweet, the long-running series announced that it will change networks for the biggest season yet. Day one fans of the franchise will remember that Drag Race started on Logo with a Vaseline-covered lens that many of us here at Queer News Tonight could benefit from.
Hey, wait, what?
Then the series moved to VH1 in season 9. With it, Viacom, the company that owns both networks, leaned into the show. The move to VH1 brought judges like Lady Gaga, Christina Aguilera, and guest appearances by Nancy Pelosi, and more. And that's where it has been for the past 5 seasons. One of the show's spin-offs, RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, beginning with season 6, the series ran on Paramount Plus and remains there today. There's a chance that this move to MTV for the flagship show will also come with renewed investment, giving us the biggest season that the series promises. RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race will enter its 3rd season in 2023 and is still slated for VH1. The year will also bring more international versions. Season 15 of RuPaul's Drag Race hits MTV on Friday, January 6th. And I cannot wait. I've been a day one super fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Well, you were a fan in the Vaseline days?
I was a fan I had a friend who worked for Logo in the Vaseline days and got me on really early on, and I've loved it every single season ever since.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Does anyone have any Vaseline for my camera?
Right?
Speaking of Vaseline.
Right? I'm glad that they're staying on Friday.
Yeah.
I think that is positive.
RuPaul has such a brand. I tell you, I mean, how many seasons has it been?
Yeah, this will be season 15.
Yeah.
Which show really does that?
Yeah.
And especially a drag show? I think it's amazing.
This is going to be a big year for RuPaul's Drag Race. It did not win Best Show. First time in 5 years. It didn't win the Emmy for Best Show. I don't think that that is terribly significant, but it didn't. Ru wins as host. They move channels from VH1 to MTV. There's other products that like Paramount Plus, etc. But it's a move, and so there's that of change. And just simply changing from VH1 to MTV means you got to bring people with you that are just in habit. Same problem, same issue that occurred when it moved from Logo to VH1. A lot of people kind of dropped off because I'm gay and all I do is watch the gay television network, which today is a specialty in the Golden Girls reruns. And joke. And we're in a situation where this is a big year, 2023, because we've never seen so many cultural attacks on our community as we have seen in 2022. That is going to get worse next year. 2023, it's going to get worse. And probably 2024 is even going to be worse because of the presidential election. And where is a big portion of the attack happening? Trans. Thank you for your words. But where's the other big portion of attack? Drag queens.
Drag queens.
So the show hasn't weighed in. The stars really haven't weighed in probably yet. They're evaluating, I'm sure, what the best response is. But we're watching a wholesale rejection of these radical evangelicals and radical conservatives and focusing on drag. You're groomers, whatever that means. They're gaslighting. But RuPaul's Drag Race this season, it's a big pivotal year for RuPaul's Drag Race.
Well, it's so important that entertainment companies are not backing down from supporting the artistry of drag. VH1, Paramount, Viacom, all investing in Drag Race. Just think about RuPaul's Drag Race, not All Stars, but Celebrity Drag Race. Celebrities, mainstream celebrities, lending their platform, their celebrity to the artistry of drag and validating that as an art form is really important. Look at HBO's We're Here. What an amazing and beautiful show. And if you haven't watched a season and seen how the show takes on the attacks on the drag community, all of those stars started off on RuPaul's Drag Race. It's a cultural, it's a pivotal cultural investment, and it's important.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I applaud RuPaul for everything that he's done, and I know several girls from the show, and I know you said that you watch the show a lot, but I've never been one to watch the show. For the longest, I was boycotting the show because I didn't feel that RuPaul was inclusive to trans people. I was a showgirl for probably like 12, 15 years of my life. I entertained all over the country and participated in pageants. And the fact that Ru was leaving me out and leaving other women like myself out, I was really upset. I've heard now that she's being a little more inclusive, and I think that they're allowing trans women to participate in the show now. And I'm still holding out and watching.
You say this because have you watched right from the early seasons, or
I've watched it in the early seasons. I'm not an every episode watcher, but yes, I've watched many of the seasons.
All right. Well, Ryan knows. I came in season 3. My brand was Alan Chuck, and so in season 3 I came in, and I was there until season 8, and I coordinated at DragCon and coordinated the international cruise programs for all of the queens that went on the cruises. My number one issue in season 4, season 5, season 6 is the trans issue. Nope. And I believe the philosophy, I'm going to say RuPaul, but the philosophy was it breaks the wall of the image that the show is trying to do. These are men dressing up as women, and we don't want to break that. Well, no, what, wait, what, why, etc. But that was the vision, and that was absolutely the vision. So as negative as that is in terms of your observation, as positive as it is today, because RuPaul has had a fundamental philosophy change, has had a fundamental embracement of the trans community in representation at RuPaul's Drag Race, even to the point where at 2 seasons ago at RuPaul UK, a woman competes in the show. It is absolutely nothing like when my involvement in Bianca's season or Sharon Needle's season. It's not even the same show. And you know, the proof of evolution means better things for the trans community participation, etc. All Stars this year has never produced a better RuPaul's Drag Race than this year's All Stars.
It was fantastic.
It was so fantastic. It was fantastic. And that's in All Stars, in the 15th year of the implementation of this show, the best ever. Change leads to great things. We can bring the trans community right along with us.
I think we have to remember that the audience for MTV, although many of us may not be that audience, it is a younger audience.
For yourself.
I'm 20.
And while
I'm right there with you.
If you look across their brands of what they have left on MTV, I think that Paramount and Viacom are very smart to bring RuPaul to MTV because of the fact that they don't have a franchise anchor. I mean, they're showing Jersey Shore Reunion, which was from 20 years ago, and the young people are, if you go to any of the, Pride events, they are front and center at every, drag is part of their world now. It's not an LGBTQ thing. It is a straight, ally, queer, it's a cultural thing. So MTV needs the star power of RuPaul probably more than RuPaul needs MTV, is what I think.
Interesting.
I also think it's just really interesting that, to Adrianna's point, that we can't give up on people on winning their hearts and minds in educating them around our different identities. We saw RuPaul's Drag Race elevate or evolve in real time. From the earlier seasons, to your point, where they made very offensive anti-trans jokes on the show, to having top-tier trans-identified drag queens, to having people of all genders, all identities, and really showing that drag is not one thing. It's not men putting on dresses and makeup. It is an art form that can be celebrated by people of all genders. It's been an amazing, I think, positive evolution. But I can see why, there's definitely...
I challenge Fenton, and I challenge World of Wonder, and I challenge everyone that's ever been associated with the show. The drag community is getting their ass kicked in lots of places around the country, and the LGBTQ community broadly is getting their asses kicked in many, many places. And this Don't Say Gay, and this groomers kind of soundbite that's created, we need to take the Christmas holidays and regroup and think about how we're going to fight that, and then we take this on. Period. We take this on. It's our next challenge. And RuPaul launching January 6th is the perfect timing to do that.
Take it on.
Let's do it. All right, let's move on to South Florida.
Sure. Now, next we'll queer up South Florida and Florida. Queer Dreamland New Year's Eve celebration for South Florida and Miami Beach. Dreamland, the immersive queer art, music, and wellness festival, returns to Miami on New Year's weekend from December 29th to January 2nd. Several of Miami's top venues, including the Oasis and the all-new M2 nightclub, will play host to musical performers, including Purple Disco Machine and Sophie Tucker. A local performance of the Las Vegas Stage Spectacular turned global touring sensation, created and directed by Channing Tatum, Magic Mike Live will also be held. Joining in the festival will be some of the biggest DJs around the world, including Horsemeat, Disco, Coco and Breezy, and Jay Wara. Thousands of LGBTQ plus people and their allies are expected to travel to Miami for the 4-day, 5-party event. General admission weekend passes start at $299. The weekend starts with the Neon Dreams party, Thursday, December 29th at 8 p.m. at the Open Air Oasis, when Grammy-nominated Sophie Tucker performs, along with Jay Wara and Coco and Breezy. The celebration's main event, Dreamland New Year's Eve, takes place Saturday, December 31st, with a live performance by the cast of Magic Mike Live, the tour Piano House Queen LP Gobi, I know I butchered that, will also perform the evening, along with DJ Danny Verdi, Isaac Escalante, and Matt Denton. On January 1st, Horsemeat Disco joins Grammy-nominated Purple Disco Machine for an all-day marathon event at the Oasis Windward. Throughout the multi-day experience, Dreamland offers complimentary wellness programs, local and international cuisine, art installations, and interactive exhibitions. The weekend is being produced by event promoter Jake Rosnikow.
What do you think?
I think it sounds great. I mean, and it's happening in our city. Yeah, it's going to attract a lot of money from the city.
I had to fan Adrianna through the story when I was talking about Channing Tatum.
Now, if he was going to be there, I would definitely be.
We had to fan Al, and they said horse meat.
Yes. Horse meat.
Sorry.
What a name, horse meat.
We kind of stumbled to this event last year on New Year's Day and got to see, because I'm a huge Purple Disco Machine fan, and it was a...
Did you have fun?
We had an amazing time. It was a daytime event, kind of coming out of COVID. It was like the first, it was outdoor, open air, and it was a really diverse community, very different from other kind of, I think, especially for New Year's. I didn't go to New Year's Eve. I went to a New Year's Day event, but it was really nice. It was definitely a queer community, and a lot of allies, a lot of just a very diverse group. So, and I think it's great for Miami. I mean, we are a global destination for all types of travelers, and there wasn't a lot of the best programming for the LGBTQ community for some time. So this is an iconic event, I think.
I love it from the standpoint of South Florida in general, still Miami, South Beach in specific. We're beginning to see a merge of LGBT-initiated programming and events like this that are not exclusively LGBT.
Correct.
It's not white gay men that are 25 to 35 that are doing these events. They are, of course, but they're getting broader, and they're encompassing and inviting many other kinds of people in community, and those that are meaning the plus in our acronym, which means, wait, you're an ally and you don't have any issue at all with LGBT, and you don't even understand why somebody has an issue of LGBT. And I don't even know Ted Cruz and who he is, much less believe his philosophies that he espouses. That's the great thing about new events like this. Urge is doing the same thing. The Winter Party has significant support for the National Task Force efforts, and it raises money for principal equality issues. But you don't have to be a gay man to enjoy the Winter Party and support equality issues. That's what I think is really great about what Jake Resnikow is doing at this event. All right, so we're going to talk about trans rights now, Adrianna.
Yes, we are.
So next up, queer up trans rights. Elon Musk booed at Dave Chappelle's show after transphobic outburst. The new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, seemingly agreed with the right-wing notion that under its previous ownership, staff at Twitter engaged in crimes against conservative. That's early on Sunday morning, Musk previewed in a tweet that said, "Now things get spicy," before later posting a political tweet that was simultaneously anti-LGBTQ+ and anti-science. "My pronouns are prosecute Fauci." Scott Kelly, who is a former NASA astronaut and twin brother of Arizona U.S. Senator Mark Kelly, responded to the tweet. "Elon, please don't mock and promote hate towards already marginalized and at risk of violence members of the LGBTQ+ community. They are real people with real feelings. Furthermore, Dr. Fauci is a dedicated public servant whose sole motivation was saving lives." Musk took a break from tweeting long enough to get thoroughly booed during a surprise appearance he made during Dave Chappelle's set at San Francisco's Chase Center Sunday evening. On Monday evening, Musk, still concerned with the booing, situation, claimed that it was a fight in the audience. That was the cause for the cacophony, messed that up, of boos. The Harvard Cyber Law Clinic instructor, Alejandra Carabello, has reacted to this through her tweet, saying, quote, "This man's ego was so sheltered by getting booed, he's now blaming the crowd booing for 10 minutes on an alleged fight in the audience." I don't know what to even say about that. I mean,
what do you think about Elon Musk?
I really don't have anything to
Sounds
think
like it's
about.
going to be a white snowflake Christmas. Twitter.
Well, you know, I wonder if he's strategically doing this stuff, like being controversial to kind of like hype up, because, you know, when he took over, was it last month? You know, it was like all this stuff that you were hearing about Twitter and people being fired and everything. So I almost wonder, because he knows that there's a large group of far-right conservatives that don't care for our community, if he's purposely doing it for like attention.
I 100% think that he is. I also think I sometimes am in disagreement of covering every single thing that happens on Twitter because of the fact that, what is it, only 12% of the, at least United States, are even on Twitter, although it's talked about on the news across, you know, every single news platform. And I understand why, but again, it's giving him so much attention, which is what he needs for his platform, because it's failing. His platform is so far behind Facebook, so far behind, you know, all of the other players out there. He has to kind of, you know, pull all the strings to try to get attention to the platform.
And to your point, breathlessly covering everything that happens on Twitter is exactly what caused the rise of Donald Trump. Every single tweet generated a news cycle. We don't need to cover everything that Elon Musk is doing. He's providing a safe harbor for racists, for neo-Nazis, for anti-LGBTQ people, homophobes, transphobes. I'm not giving him any attention.
And is not focusing on his moneymaker, which is Tesla, which stock is down 50% year to date.
I also don't believe he is the richest person in the world. After RuPaul has now branched into I think RuPaul is actually probably the richest person in the world.
You know,
we have
reported at Queer News tonight, RuPaul's net worth is $72 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh, honey, that's a brand.
Right.
It's a money brand.
I agree with Rajee. I do think that he's being strategic, because when you think about it, there's been so much controversy that's been going around about the Dave Chappelle show and how he said so many things that are transphobic and that are against our community. So he goes to the Dave Chappelle show and starts talking all of this mess about the trans community. I just think it's completely, utterly ridiculous. And when I think about getting booed, I mean, I understand that there's freedom of speech, but you know, you have to deal with the consequences of your actions. You know?
It's interesting to me that it doesn't surprise me that he would go to Chappelle, because I'm sure that he thought Chappelle was an ally. Because obviously Chappelle said
he's not. And let me tell you, if you watch that show, you know, it's some people misinterpret it where he was going with it. We had this conversation. But I have a question. Why is Twitter like, okay, so if Twitter is quitter. Twitter needs to quitter. No, if Twitter is like, you know, one of at the bottom of the totem pole, you know, as opposed to Instagram or Facebook, why does the media cover Twitter so much?
It's like the AP almost.
Yes, it's a news-driven. It allows you to comment person to person in very real time. Facebook doesn't do that. Instagram doesn't do that. Twitter allows you to do that. And as a result, it's one famous person fighting or complimenting or echoing. It's an echo chamber. And Twitter allows you to do that. The one thing that I was going to say that's interesting to me is we're doing a story that principally focuses on Dave Chappelle, and our story, and nationally, people are not talking about Dave Chappelle. You know it's bad when there's a story where you're booed over your transphobic comments and you're in the same place at the same time with Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle is not being talked about
at all.
You're really in a bad place. That's what has happened to Elon Musk. Another thing that I think is interesting is he doesn't care about this at all. I think really what is at stake, he may not be the richest person in the world, although he probably is. But when you're worth over $100 billion, you don't care about nothing, nothing. Because there's not a person on this planet that can touch him. And the proof of that is Twitter. He ended up making all of these excuses, realizing that his offer was terrible. It was not worth $40 billion. Twitter is a terrible business to buy. He makes the joke. How do you turn this business into a small fortune? You buy Twitter, because he spent $40 billion to turn it into $2 billion in value. It was a terrible decision on his part, but he can, and he can basically lose billions of dollars, and okay, whatever. I read just one last thought about Elon Musk. One of the things that's fascinating to me, and I'm asking about him all the time, because I like your observation on Tesla and his space program and blah blah blah. He's Thomas Edison. He's Thomas Edison. I once upon a time said in the 21st century, so far in the first 22 years of this millennia, the greatest machine invented in the history of the world is the Tesla. It is the most important, the battery technology, what it leads to, etc. It's revolutionary. So we're dealing with Albert Einstein in production. It's Thomas Edison. It's Henry Ford of our lifetime. Wow. But he's batshit crazy. And the question was, why didn't we recognize 20 years ago that Elon Musk was batshit crazy? Well, because we liked where he was going so much, we ignored his batshit crazy. And I've read a number of articles that basically summarize what we're watching is a Thomas Edison or a Henry Ford or a Rockefeller at the time or a Standard Oil in the 1890s in a modern environment of Elon Musk that has unlimited resources, but he is exhibiting Howard Hughes mentality. And if you remember Howard Hughes, he was a revolutionary. He was a visionary, and then he got stranger and stranger and stranger to the many things that we saw that we know Howard Hughes became. And we're watching, people are writing, we're watching the same kind of thing here. And we just hope it doesn't become dangerous. Yeah. Because he has the capability. You know, he's the 11th richest country in the world. Wow. Elon Musk.
The 11th?
Meaning he's worth, he's ahead of country number 12.
Oh my
GMP.
gosh.
That's how powerful Elon Musk is. So,
and my sister, by the way, happens to be born on the same day, June 28th, same year. So they were literally, and I tease her. I'm like, "What happened to you? Like,
where's your $100 billion?"
Okay, exactly.
We're watching Elon Musk though, and we should watch Elon Musk because there's a lot going on that is going to affect us and is affecting us, and our community.
Well, let's queer up the USA view. LGBTQ hate crimes hit all-time high despite dramatic reduction of number of agencies reporting. Hate crimes in the United States remained at the same level in 2021 as they were in 2020. The FBI said,
You're frozen. I'm going to pick up for you.
Thank you. Said Monday, even as hate crimes based on... No, you have to pick up for me, Al.
Okay, let me pick up because we're having some technical problems. The FBI said Monday, even as hate crimes based on a person's sexual orientation increased. However, the FBI also said there was nearly 30% drop in police agencies that reported data in 2021 because of the new way the data was reported to the FBI, making it difficult to meaningfully compare 2021 statistics to years past. An FBI official said on a conference call with reporters in giving all of these facts. Some of the agencies that didn't report data were from bigger city agencies, but the FBI did not say which ones. The FBI said 64.8% of victims were targeted because of their offenders biased against race and ethnicity. 15.6% were targeted because of the offenders' bias toward their sexual orientation, and 13% were targeted because of their religion. A senior FBI official told reporters on a conference call Monday, quote, The bias groups of sexual orientation and disability showed increases in reported hate crime incidents and bias reported incidents of anti-Asian and anti-Native American or Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander also increased in 2021, as well as a number of non-juvenile offenders connected to reported hate crimes. To me, the most interesting, there's two really interesting facts in this new FBI report. First, we're at an all-time high, even with a 30% reduction in reporting, which means that the real numbers are really super significant. They're sky high in terms of their history. The other thing is the sexual and gender identity attacks. What you do is you look at the percentage of attacks of what the FBI is tracking versus percentage population. And in general, there's a 7% acceptance. That's general. It varies a little. But a 7% general acceptance of LGBT and especially LGB, but include the T also, in community. We represent 7% of American society. Human beings are 7% queer, gay, lesbian, trans. We are double the reporting in terms of hate crime. That's significant.
Yes,
because it means we're being discriminated against in terms of verbal and violent act twice the average of what should happen in community. And it's a very, very significant number. And then when you factor in the fact that 30% are not even reporting correctly, the number is really dramatic. That's the big news in this report.
God, those numbers, I mean, that's just really, you know, it's interesting how, like, we're seeing progress. You know, we have a president, a White House that supports our community, but then, you know, what's going on in the country with people, and I know a lot of it probably just has to do with backlash, you know, when there's so much progression for a particular group that happens, people get scared. They're like, wait a minute, we have to, like, rein it in now. Like, we're giving these people too much.
I'm doing interviews all the time now where people are going, we made so much progress. We made so much progress. What's happening? Well, what's happening is for those that are out of power, that want to be in power and they want to take power and they want to have control and they want money, what do? They find the easiest marginalized group and then create a culture war against them. Who is that? Number one is trans. Number two is queer in general. Number three is religious minorities, which is why we see anti-Semitic rise. Those are easy targets to create culture war of theming, theming them, and that's what we're watching and why it's happening.
I don't know. You all may not agree with me, but I think the discrimination with, like, the Asian and, like, South Pacific Islander really happened with Trump. And the whole China thing.
You didn't like the China virus?
That China. I used to really used to get a kick out of him saying China, but I think that kind of, like, fueled, because, you know, a lot of the people, you wouldn't necessarily know what country they're from, but they have, like, similar looks. So I really do believe that fueled that particular bias, you know.
You know, when I think about, when you were saying backlash and you think about all the progress we made, I know a couple months ago, and I promise I'm not trying to brag, but I was sitting on the standing girl.
Yeah, you can brag. You've earned it.
I was standing on the lawn of the White House at one of the events when they were honoring Elton John, and all I could think about was, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. But we just had Transgender Day of Remembrance on November 20th, and we just had 44 predominantly Black trans women that were just killed. So when you're sitting there talking about these hate crimes, it's just, it really hits home for me. It just really hits home.
You know, I can't agree with that more, but, you know, the issue around reporting, I think, is really interesting. And I think for the trans community, it has to be, of course, a whole other level. if you're attacked, but your law enforcement agencies also don't respect you, how are you going to go there and be a sympathetic victim or feel comfortable even reporting your crime when your own community doesn't support you? So, underreporting, it can be underreported by 50% for all we know, because if you're like, well, those police, they're arresting me as sex workers, they're doing all of these things against my community, why would I go there when I'm attacked?
Yes.
How is that a safe place for you to get help?
And I'm a living example of that, because I was brutally beaten up some years ago, and I was too scared to call the police because I was fearful that I was going to be re-victimized by them.
There is, I'm not going to mention her name, but there was a trans woman that lived in Wilton Manors that was very influential. She sold houses, and she had called me and told me that that she had been brutally raped in Wilton Manors in her home, and was scared to call the community, scared to call the police. And she's no longer here with us. She ended up committing suicide.
Oh, that's tragic.
It just really touches my heart when I think about things like that.
Part of the problem is that there's 30 to 40% of our population that lives in an information bubble that is constantly getting the message reinforced to them that LGBTQ people, particularly trans and drag performers, are evil, are menaces, groomers. And when you convince someone that a person or a group of people are evil, that they are an enemy, it allows you as the receiver of that information to justify doing any kind of evil and atrocity. And I will say, the wise philosopher Yoda said it best, that
You're quoting Star Wars.
I'm quoting Star Wars, that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hatred, and hatred leads to suffering.
That's absolutely true.
And we're seeing that play out.
I'm a Star Trek guy, but it's a good quote too. All right, let's move on to queering up entertainment. The Heartstopper star Kit Connor wins his first Emmy.
And the Emmy goes to...
It's not anything to do with you. I just don't think we really fit together. I'm not sure that I fit with you or other people in our friend group.
But we've been friends for so long, we hung out every morning.
Well, Kit Connor has received his first ever Emmy for his performance as Nick Nelson in Netflix Heartstopper. The 18-year-old won the trophy for outstanding lead performance in a preschool, children's, or young teen program at the first annual Children's and Family Emmy Awards on Sunday. Although Connor wasn't present at the ceremony, his Heartstopper co-stars Sebastian Croft and Will Gowell accepted the award on his behalf. Connor took to his Instagram stories to celebrate the win, writing, quote, "Well, this is cool. Thank you so much to everyone who watched the show," end quote. Since Heartstopper premiered on Netflix in May, Connor has received acclaim for his portrayal of Nick, a young rugby player who questions his sexuality after developing feelings for his gay classmate Charlie, played by Joe Locke. By the end of season 1, Nick comes out to his mom and as bisexual, with plans to come out to others on his own terms. Unfortunately, not all viewers took the show's themes to heart, as Connor was eventually pressured into coming out online. Shortly before deactivating his Twitter account, seems to be a growing trend, in November, Connor tweeted, quote, "Back for a minute, I'm bi. Congrats for forcing an 18-year-old to out himself. I think some of you missed the point of the show," end quote. The 18-year-old's coming out was met with plenty of support from fans and friends, including Osman and Coleman, who called Connor a very beautiful human being. Very sad to me. Outing is a dramatic problem. I don't understand why we want to do it. We do it in our own community frequently in our own community. So we can't criticize those outside of LGBTQ because we do it to ourselves frequently, first and foremost. So let's criticize ourselves and point the fingers at ourselves first. The second thing that I would say is the congratulations. I didn't know that this new Emmy line was happening for children. If you haven't seen Heartstopper, I highly recommend it to you. I'm a little embarrassed to say I just fan guide over the television show. It is a beautiful show that is everything like the Simon movie was, but a little edgier, and absolutely beautifully done. There's no overt sexual interaction. It is all done for the age appropriateness of the storyline, and beautifully done. Heartstopper, something you definitely should invest some time.
And you said it's on Netflix, so, and I have Netflix. So I haven't seen the show, but I probably will check it out now. Yeah.
It is a beautiful show. It made me fall in love with love again. It reminded me of the power of the simple act of holding someone's hand for the first time, or giving someone a kiss for the first time. How beautiful and how much love is in that moment between two people.
By the way,
it's really fantastic.
It's funny. Heartstopper, after its first season, was in polling in the United Kingdom, the #1 show. The most favored or favorite show in the United Kingdom was Heartstopper.
Wow.
So beautifully done.
All right, well, let's queer up lesbian culture. Understanding why lesbian bars keep disappearing. On a recent episode of Fat Guy, Jacked Guy, Steph Rubino brought attention to the gradual disappearance of lesbian bars here in the United States. Rubino shared her personal experience with gay bars throughout her life. As per the article on Autostraddle, quote, many lesbian bars throughout the 20th century served as places for women to gather to do community organizing work, to take care of each other, to get health care, and to just generally help out the communities where the bars were located, end quote. It's widely accepted that the first lesbian bar to open in the U.S. was Mona's 440 Club in San Francisco, California in 1936. While it's certainly true that Mona's broke barriers and influenced the opening of bars like it across the U.S., calling it the first lesbian bar is actually somewhat historically inaccurate, because the prohibition of the 1920s drove all bars to go underground. There's a lot of queer bar history that wasn't either well documented or is just not very well known. The first documented bar-like hangout for lesbians, Eve's Hangout, was opened in Greenwich Village, in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of New York City. Throughout the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, more lesbian bars opened in big cities and some small towns all over the U.S. By 1980, there were over 200 lesbian bars around the country. But as of 2021, the Lesbian Bar Project has recorded that there are only 24 left in the United States. And that's an absolute shame. Bar culture, as we've seen from, recent discussion after the massacre at Club Q, is so important to the LGBT community. It's a space for us to gather, to feel safe, to support one another, and all segments of our community deserve to have that safe space.
I'll tell you, I remember, and I'm not going to tell you all how old I am, but let's just say I've been around the block, okay, a few times. I remember back in the day, before the internet, club culture, there was an energy that was there. Like you were looking forward to the weekend to go get your life, because that's what we used to call it. Are you going to get your life? Because it was the place where we could get together.
I heard that phrase before.
Yeah, because it was a place you could get together and meet other like-minded and, people that are like yourself. And the internet, I think, really don't get me wrong, like the internet is great. We can talk to someone in Australia like real time. But what I'm saying is I think that that's what the internet did. It kind of took away from that whole energy of the club. Now, as far as lesbians, and you gay men, don't butcher me, but do you think it's because lesbians, they hook up and they kind of stay together. Like,
are you making a U-Haul?
That's exactly what she's doing.
Yes. The answer is yes.
It's a different community. You know, to comment on the story and to do a little plug for a friend who's no longer with us. I was friends with Leslie Cohen, who was the owner of the Sahara in New York City. She wrote a wonderful book about her life, chronicling her bar in New York City that hosted amazing performances from Blondie to Pat Benatar, and tells the story of the lesbian bar world in New York City, The Audacity of a Kiss, if you are looking for a book for a gift for this holiday season. But I think it's interesting because even in our own community, I mean, if you look across, if you go outside of Wilton Manors, Miami Beach, gay bars are disappearing. Yeah. So it's not just lesbian bars. They started off with less bars than gay men did, and now they have less, and we have less also. And you know, with a tax on our community, it's a risky business proposition for people to go into that business. So, but the flip side of it is it's progress, because you go out to nightclubs now, and there are LGBTQ people spread across those places and that are welcome in some cities. So I think it's a double-edged sword.
Do you feel like the need for LGBT clubs is waning or disappearing?
You know, it's interesting because I really think that's the heart of the question.
Yeah.
There's only 20 lesbian bars left in the United States. Even with retrenchment in Miami-Dade County for gay bars, male-oriented or male-focused bars, that's not the case in Fort Lauderdale and Wilton. It's growing. It's vibrant. We have more than 20 gay male spaces in South Florida. More than 20 just here in South Florida, and there's 20 lesbian spaces in the entire nation. So it's an indication of what's really going on. If you would have asked that question in 2015, right after gay marriage and Supreme Court and the progress in lighting up the White House in rainbow, I would have said, yeah, I can just see that we just don't need the same kind of spaces that we do. But then this little thing called Donald Trump happened, and Proud Boys happened, and January 6th happened, and now we watch Ron DeSantis happen, and Ted Cruz, and the person and the person in Oklahoma, the state senator that has proposed legislation to ban trans health care, not for children, but all adults. There can be no trans, hey, if that legislation passes, wildly crazy, it probably will not, but they're discussing the idea that trans does not exist, and so therefore it would be illegal to provide hormone therapy to an adult. In those kind of environments that we've watched in the last 5 years, my answer would be different than it was in the first months after gay marriage, which is we need these spaces because in Colorado Springs, we've heard the story over and over and over again. They fought this very conservative philosophy in Colorado Springs, and frequently it was not a safe or a rich, embracing environment for LGBT. So Club Q was needed. Well, there's lots of places in lots of communities across the country where if we say we lose these spaces, we're okay now because we'll mix everywhere. That may not necessarily be true. May not be.
Wow. Oh my God, I'm reminiscing about my club days. Anyway.
Come back to us, Rajee, because you're up next.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday's International Service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Glenn Weinzimmer, founder of the Smart Ride, second largest AIDS bicycle ride in the country, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, now we finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Gay Times and writer Sam Demshinas. Here are the LGBTQ plus nominees for the 2023 Golden Globes. A plethora of LGBTQ plus stars and stories have been honored with nominations at the 80th Annual Golden Globe Awards. On December 12th, the nominees were announced. Tar, starring Cate Blanchett as a lesbian musical conductor, earned 3 nominations. Jeremy Pope received his first ever nomination for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for The Inspection, a movie based on the real-life experiences of director Elegance Bratton, follows a soldier who faces homophobia at a Marine boot camp. Several LGBTQ plus inclusive shows have been nominated for Best Television Series, Musical or Comedy, including Hacks, Abbott Elementary, and Only Murderers in the Building. The event is being hosted by gay comedian Jared Carmichael. Read more at gaytimes.co.uk.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up politics. From LGBTQ plus news partner Queerty and writer Graham Greenmore. Mary Trump warns Republicans to buckle up as her crazy uncle is about to burn everything down. Between his seemingly endless string of court losses, multiple investigations, last month's disappointing midterm election results, and the lackluster response to his big 2024 announcement, things aren't going particularly well for Donald J. Trump. In an appearance on MSNBC over the weekend, Mary Trump said her crazy uncle is prepared to, quote, burn everything down, end quote, if Republicans dare to turn their backs on him during his time of need. Mary told Veshni, Donald, quote, Donald becomes his most dangerous when he fears loss of relevance, end quote. Read more at QWERTY.com.
Well, I think it's both, because Donald becomes his most dangerous when he fears loss of relevance, when he fears that he is no longer the center of attention, when he fears that he is no longer the one in control. And we don't know just what kinds of information he has on other people in his party. What we do know is that he would be willing to use it. And I believe we talked about this before the 2020 election. Donald will burn everything down if he feels like he's going down.
In LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up the road to Stonewall. From LGBTQ plus news partner Windy City Times. We love Chicago. Here is Showtime and HRC Queer to Stay winners. The Human Rights Campaign, the HRC, and Showtime announced the 25 recipients of Queer to Stay, a LGBTQ plus business preservation initiative to support and uplift small businesses that focus on LGBTQ plus people for color, women, and the trans plus community who continue to be impacted by economic setbacks from the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the recipients included Dorothy Downstairs in Chicago, Bake Me Happy in Columbus, Ohio, Body in Los Angeles, Queer Therapy Network in Houston, The Queer Chocolatier in Muncie, Indiana, and Franny's Lou's Porch in Philadelphia. Also along with Jim Colby, Salish Prezad, and others. You can read more at windycitytimes.com.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Rajee Narine-Singh, Ryan Hurst, Adrianna Tender, and Jeff Oliveiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our show, we have one final story. Let us queer up the big interview. The Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida talks Christmas concert while at the Hard Rock Guitar Pool. It's a Florida thing. Nobody loves Christmas like the South Florida queer community. They are always ready for entertainment, fun, music, and good queer events at venues like the Hard Rock Live. I have recently interviewed and had an amazing time with Mark Kent and Gabe Salazar from the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, talking about Christmas, music, their upcoming concert, security under the present political environment in Florida, and how the chorus is growing throughout the years.
Well, this is a very special interview at Queer News Tonight, and I'm just saying, I don't often get to say this, but I love my job. I'm sitting in one of the Bora villas at the Seminole Hard Rock Hollywood Hotel, and we're in the midst of this beautiful pool complex. I'm sitting right below the Guitar Hotel, the new Guitar Hotel. We're showing you images of that now, and I have two very interesting gentlemen with me, and that is Mark Kent, and Mark is the executive director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, and this new sensation personality that is now so front and center in our community, and that is Gabe Salazar, the artistic director. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to broadcast this, and I can't say tonight because it's so beautiful here in the daytime. It's really stunning. First time I've ever been in the villa. As everybody knows in South Florida, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida is a sentinel performance entertainment organization of our LGBTQ community. And on December 18th, something happens that hasn't happened in a while, frankly, and that is because of pandemic. The chorus is going to return to the Sentinel Hard Rock Live here at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel for a gigantic Christmas concert. And I'm here to talk to them about the chorus and all kinds of things. And long introduction of y'all, but welcome to Queer News Tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. We really appreciate you having us.
It's a fun place. Y'all have nice jobs, too, to be able to do this. I want to start by talking about the chorus itself. At one point, we had 3 choruses here in South Florida, highly unusual. Most cities don't necessarily have a chorus. If they do, they have 1 main chorus. We in South Florida have had 3 in Miami and 2 in South Florida. The Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida is really the iconic performance group, certainly in South Florida, but really all over the country. 170 voices started in September of 2010, I read. Tell us a little bit about the early days and why the Gay Men's Chorus came together.
You know, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida originated with a group of individuals who had a commitment to excellence and artistic quality. I mean, let's face it, we've got an enormous LGBTQ community here in South Florida, and bringing a really high-level performance ensemble to this area was a priority for that group. We had really, really strong groups, but they wanted to push the bar a little higher, so they organized, and we had great leaders. They put a community board in place who brought great infrastructure and strength to our operations, and they made it happen.
I wanted to read more about what the chorus was doing. I read that you formed on September 7th, 2010. I'm a journalism guy, so facts are important. The following week, You went to Sunshine Cathedral September 14th, and basically that's been your home ever since. I was reading about Reverend Dr. Jarrell Watkins and Sunshine's involvement in supporting. Tell me a little, of course, we're interested in that. Our studios, Happening Out Television studios, are at Sunshine Cathedral, and we support them in many ways, like we do the chorus. Tell us a little bit about that relationship with Sunshine.
You know, one of the great things about Sunshine Cathedral is that they focus beyond just their walls, just the service. And of course, that's the centerpiece of who they are and what they're about. But they really look beyond that and into the community. And they are constantly engaging other organizations and making sure that they not only have a healthy congregation, but they're living and serving in a vibrant and strong community. And that's how we came about our partnership. When we needed a home, they stepped right up to the plate and welcomed us.
Yeah, that is awesome. I was at a Sunday service. We broadcast to the nation and internationally their Sunday 10:30 a.m. service on Roku and Apple Television. And I was at a service recently, and up in the rafters there was this face, and I thought, oh wait, I know that face, and it was Gabe Salazar. You sing frequently.
I do. Every Sunday I'm there.
Yeah. So you're actually a singer.
I am.
And have musical talent.
I should hope so.
Yes, as the artistic director. Tell me how that happened in terms of you singing in the community and other kinds of things you do beyond the chorus.
Yeah, you know, being in this position, I don't get to sing very much. You know, I kind of gave that up being a conductor. And so the opportunity came they were looking for some staff singers to help support their music ministry. And they asked me if I knew any singers. And at the time I was like, well, I kind of am interested. And I joined, and it's become another home for me. I love the ministry that they do. I love the people involved. I love the people in the congregation, and I love their mission. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what we do in the chorus as well. So it's just a great fit overall.
You know, in full disclosure for me, in the early part of this new decade, 1999, 2000, 1988, I think the first time, I was part of a gay men's chorus in Sarasota. And it was a mixed chorus, and it was small. It wasn't like a gay men's chorus of South Florida. And I went to 2 galas and learned about the whole music movement, to approximately 200 choruses like gay men's chorus of South Florida all over the world, principally in North America. And one of the things that I learned then, and gay men's chorus of South Florida didn't exist yet, but what I've learned today is if there's an Ivy League of gay men's choruses, the gay men's chorus of South Florida is one of them. You say names like Boston, Washington, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. That's the group you're in. And you're the only one, at least from my humble opinion, that is in that Ivy League here in the South, because you're a chorus, a gay men's chorus in the South, which is very different than the West Coast or the Northeast. 170 singers in this chorus. Tell me a bit about the experience of being a member of the gay men's chorus of South Florida.
Well, I joined initially as a member. So I had a couple of rehearsals, and then we shut down for COVID. So I didn't really get the full experience, but within those few months that we were rehearsing, I just felt a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and a family that I didn't have being new to Florida. So it was just a great way for me to find my footing and find a family in Florida.
Any thoughts from you, Mark, about the experience of being in the chorus?
Sure, and I certainly have to point out that when Gabe became our artistic director, we hated losing him as a singer, because he really does have one of the most exquisite voices I've ever heard.
Voice.
It's amazing. You know, being a member in our chorus is about finding a place in this community. Certainly there are lots of things to do that are recreational, bars, clubs, restaurants, but to be someplace where you can work constructively with a group of people to do something to help make a better community and be totally embraced and supported for what you uniquely bring to the mix is an experience that happens for our members that's just not easily available. And very often in our community, it's easy to feel like we're not sure where we belong, you know?
And actually, that's very interesting you say that, because I want to talk about your community impact. But before I move to that, I want to give you an opportunity. Can anyone join the chorus? If I wanted to sing, what would I do?
Yeah, if you're interested and can sing in the tenor bass range, we're always having auditions throughout the year. Obviously, we would love to grow and welcome people into our family. Just check out our website, www.gmcsf.org, and there's a whole page about auditions and how to go about that.
And I know it's called the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, but I heard you have trans representation.
We do.
I believe you have female.
We do have a female,
singers.
a cis female.
Tell us a little about that. It's a very open, embracing organization as long as you can sing in the ranges of what.
Yeah, we welcome anybody who wants to be involved. You know, we had our first female singer this season, and she's just been the greatest addition. She's so excited to be a part of a family. She's dealt with a lot of persecution with her wife and their daughter, and she's found a home within us, and we just love her and couldn't imagine without her.
You know, I love that, but having long experience with RuPaul's Drag Race, I just want to say RuPaul's did that and done that. There's a straight drag queen performer at RuPaul's UK version, and now the chorus has done the same thing, which is great in terms of inclusivity. I want to come back to the community thing, Mark, that you were talking about. One of the reasons we're so supportive of the mission of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida is there's entertainment, and it can be entertaining, and that in and of itself is worthwhile. But you cross into new boundaries in terms of representation in our community, both inside our community, LGBT, but even perhaps more important, outside of our community is representation. Tell us a little bit about what you do in community and how that works.
You know, really germane and fundamental to who we are and what we're about is opening minds and changing hearts for people, about who people in the LGBTQ plus community are. And it's hard to find that strong, positive representation in a broad way. And the arts have got such a magical way of pulling people together. We serve the community not only through our main stage concerts, but through multiple outreach performances in neighborhoods, community centers, public festivals and events. We've sung national anthem, I think, for every major sporting league that's in the state. And it's about putting a group of LGBTQ plus people in front of the public and saying, here's who we are, here's what we stand for, and we're here, and we're not going anywhere.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. In a different vein, I just did the only and final LGBT interview with Dr. Anthony Fauci. And Fauci said that the reason World AIDS Day was so important today is just simply to be put in front of people. And that's what I just heard you say. The value of the chorus to be at a Miami Heat and do the national anthem just to be announced as the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida and be in front of 35,000 basketball fans in and of itself is valuable to our community, don't you think?
Oh, it really is. And, you know, and the association that those major leagues are making with an LGBT organization helps provide a level of affirmation for a mainstream public that we are, you know, part of this community and to be respected and valued.
I have to, when we're talking about community, take a moment to acknowledge what's going on in Florida and America. We are watching quite an increasing and alarming number of threats and attacks on the LGBTQ community. We're watching the news in North Carolina carefully in terms of the power grid attack potentially of the drag queen event. Multiple events here in Florida in recent weeks have been threatened and attacked. The Proud Boys are on the corner of Las Olas and A1A with Moms of Liberty demonstrating against LGBT. Department of Homeland Security has elevated attention to the potential of domestic terrorism against LGBT and also the growing threats that we should all be aware of, like what we just watched at Club Q in Colorado Springs. As an executive director of an organization that gets out there in the community and performs in concerts, very public events like you do, and as the artistic director, what do you think about as it relates to you and the chorus of what we're watching grow in Florida and in the United States?
It's, you know, individuals who are putting forth these agendas, organizations and individuals that are anti-LGBT are building it on a foundation of not only hate, but fear. They want mainstream America to be afraid of us and to be angry at us and to hate us. And that's what they're striving for. And the way that we cope with that is we're not afraid. You know, we are about giving a voice to the LGBTQ community, and we're not going to let that attempt at oppression silence our voice. If anything, this is a time for us to sing louder, to stand more firmly, and to hold hands with everybody, our allies, and anyone who supports our community, to stand strongly against hate. And we intend to keep singing and doing that.
Yeah. I think we've learned from Stonewall. We're going to talk about your Stonewall event in a moment, but I think we learned from Stonewall, when we unite, we're stronger than the other. I know people, we talked about the big choruses in Boston and Washington. They're watching this interview right now and watching the artistic director and the executive director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida. By the way, this is why we live here. It's December. You're getting ready for this Christmas concert, and we're looking over the shoulder of the pictures that we're going and looking at this beautiful pool. It doesn't necessarily equate to what most of the country thinks about Christmas. But before we talk about Christmas, let's talk about 2023. I just want to touch base on your mission all year long. This event at Hard Rock Live is very visible, of course, but I want to talk about some of the other stuff that you do. I was reading that at Parker Playhouse, Broward Center for Performing Arts, on March 24, you're going to do a concert, your annual spring concert, called Songs of the Phoenix. Now, I know what Phoenix is, but I don't quite know what you're telling me. So here's your opportunity. Tell us about Songs of the Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a really cool work that we kind of joined forces with and co-commissioned with other choruses such as San Francisco. And it's a really unique work in that there's 9 different composers that kind of put one work together.
So it's an original?
It's an original piece, original work. And all the composers are of different ethnicities and cultures and backgrounds, a very diverse cast of composers. And it kind of tells the story of through the eyes of coming out of COVID, emerging from that horrible time that we all endured, and being more powerful and saying that we are back, and just kind of tells it through the lens of that perspective.
So the Phoenix is literally rising out of pandemic.
Yes.
Wow, that's terrific in terms of that image. And you come to the concert on March 24th at the Parker Playhouse. That will, for all intents and purposes, for our South Florida audience, be the first time it's ever been seen.
Correct.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yes. And you partner with other major, these Ivy League choruses that I was talking about around the country to be able to commission that, to be able to afford something like that, and then you perform it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
I saw the Parker Playhouse concert this last spring. Quite amazing to be in a house like that, about 1,000 seats, I believe, something like that. What was your experience? That was your first time performing it?
That was my first time performing after it's been renovated, and it's just a great space for us. And it's large enough where we can have a good audience, but also feels very intimate, and we can have a special evening of music together.
Exciting. Songs of the Phoenix, the rise of the Phoenix out of COVID. Awesome. And we're going to show you right now how you can get tickets for that event. Then another signature event on the calendar in 23 is the Gala Brunch, and I did the red carpet last year. I believe it was the Westin Hotel out at Fort Lauderdale Beach. And the Gala Brunch is a bit different because it's your signature fundraiser of the year. Tell us, Mark, about what the Gala Brunch does and why people should get involved in it.
No, that fundraiser like that, I think for a lot of nonprofits, it accomplishes mainly 2 goals. One of those certainly is to raise much needed funds that support our operations and our outreach programs. But the other thing it does is it brings together what I refer to as the chorus family. It brings together the artists, it brings together our major donors, it brings together community people, volunteers. Everybody comes to the brunch, and it's sort of like a large annual celebration of the work that we do and what we're trying to accomplish. So it's something that we look forward to it every year. It's a lot of work.
You do some sampling of music, and there's an auction and a great brunch. It's a lot of fun. I went this year. I can't get away without mentioning, it's interesting as I think about this Phoenix concept of your spring concert. Spring of 2020 had significant problems for the gay men's chorus at the brunch and winter party. We were hitting the throes of the beginning of not understanding COVID-19, and even the brunch was affected by it. It's a full circle that we're going to celebrate with the brunch in 2023 and the spring concert of the Phoenix. That's very interesting. And again, we're showing you some information of how you can do that. Then for me of great interest is Stonewall. In the month of June, as everyone knows, Hotspots Magazine and Habanero Television Network puts on Stonewall Pride in June. And memory serves me, it's the third Friday and Saturday in June. Oh, I'm probably going to get that right, but it's in June, and that's when Stonewall Pride is. And we partner in promoting with the chorus your amazing Stonewall Pride concerts. And this year, you're going back to the Parker Playhouse, and you're not going to fill the place once, but you're going to fill the place twice. Wow, that's amazing. And you're probably doing some old 1920s or 30s music. Oh, wait. Disney. The Stonewall Pride concert is called Disney Pride. Tell me about that. And like every ear is leaning in right now going, what? Tell me about Disney Pride.
Well, we're really excited to be working with, one of the biggest corporations in the world. And we're so lucky that Boston had been working with Disney for quite some time to put together a show that incorporates so many Disney favorites into along with multimedia projection and orchestra. And they've come up with an amazing show that has 42 different songs intertwined within the show.
I'm sorry, say that again?
42
songs
of your Disney favorites, and we are so excited to be the first to present it here in the South, and I'm just so excited about it.
It's first, but before we go on, I kind of turned to the camera. I have a number of friends in Orlando at Disney, and I'm going, you did it in Boston. How much Disney properties are in Massachusetts? I'm trying to remember. The concert on Saturday, June 24th and Sunday, June 25th. You can get tickets now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's available. And I remember this year in the very moving event, the first act was Stonewall celebration of story and music of people that moved our movement and LGBT. And then the second act was more traditional kind of music. Will you be doing that at Disney Pride?
No, unfortunately, it's all Disney.
It's all Disney. Yeah. Every viewer that we have right now just cheered and said, Al, shut up. This is what we want. They know what they're doing. That's great. And so that is in June. Now, those are the big signatures for 2023. We're giving you all of the information, showing you lots of images on it. But now let's come back to Christmas. You're doing 2 concerts at Sunshine Cathedral, your home, on June 16th. And oh, by the way, here's where you go and get your tickets. Nowhere. The concert is sold out. And there are not many tickets left for Hard Rock Live on December 18th, on Sunday, December 18th. So if you're waiting, you're going to be disappointed if you wait. Yes. We're coming here to the Hard Rock Live. This will be your first time, I understand, here. Yes. Directing. What do you think that experience will be like being on that stage directing?
I mean, there's just so many great artists.
Does it give you goosebumps?
It does give me a little bit of goosebumps. It's a lot of pressure that I feel, but it's so exciting just to be able to be on such a main stage platform to show who we are and to present to the community. And we're lucky to have it here. Maybe we'll get some people who might not normally come to one of our concerts, and they can witness the great beauty that will be that night.
When you said about the pressure on you, my friend RuPaul just popped into my voice and said, don't F it up. So don't F it up, Gabe. So you're going to come here. Let's talk about Seminole Hard Rock for a moment. This hotel, and it's one of the reasons why we wanted to come and talk to you here. My favorite restaurant is right over your shoulder. In all of South Florida. This company Seminole Tribe of Florida has been amazingly supportive of the LGBTQ community. Amazingly. I have been to a number of the diversity honors events here. They walk the walk and talk the talk here.
They really
and
do.
to invite you into their house in a substantially discounted fashion shows such respect to our community here in South Florida. Tell us about how that relationship, Mark, you were here and helping to develop that, how that relationship began and what you think about Seminole Hard Rock.
Sure. We have a chorus member who actually had contacts here and initiated the conversation on our behalf with the special events department here at Hard Rock. And so it was followed by a meeting. We had great conversations and proposals. One of the things that really, really impressed me about Hard Rock is they weren't interested in just throwing support at us and walking away. They wanted to have conversations, and they're invested in doing what they can to raise us to the next level. They want to see us grow. They want to make us stronger as an organization. So they've invested in this, not just as a quick check the box, great, we did something, but really in a true spirit of service and support for the community, and particularly the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, it's awesome. Abiaka is, by the way, the restaurant. I'm looking at it over your shoulder and thinking of that fantastic dinner experience. You know, it's interesting to me in terms of the support for the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida. Just in this conversation alone, we've talked about Disney and we've talked about Seminole Hard Rock and how they support LGBT through music of the chorus itself. And the reason I zero in on it is because I really think that there's a great opportunity for many other business enterprises, corporations, whether it be regional here in South Florida or national, to reach out and help in supporting LGBT. It's good business to do, which Seminole Hard Rock proves and Disney proves. And the casino here is not bad either.
Right.
And I heard last time you were here, you did pretty good.
I did.
Yeah.
Let's talk about gift.
Let's talk about specifically on the concert. First off, tell us about what everyone can experience, what they expect at Hard Rock Live.
Yeah, I mean, my goal and desire, you know, when you come into the concert is just to come and feel a sense of hope and a sense of joy through the music that's presented. And, you know, we want everybody to come to our concerts and just have an experience, not just come and listen, but to kind of leave a little bit changed, a little bit more happy, a little bit more proud, and just to enjoy the holidays.
Yeah, I met Tropical Wave this week and 18 Voice ensemble group of the chorus. They're going to do some special things in the concert. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so they're our small chamber ensemble, and we have that group. It's a group of elite musicians within the chorus, and they are a part of our big chorus, but they have additional responsibilities, and we send them out for outreach events and different things in the community, and we're so grateful that we have that group, and they can represent the chorus so well. So they'll be performing as well.
You know, one recommendation that I would make on your Christmas concert next year, it would make your Christmas concert even better, is if you could possibly reach out and find a Tony and a Grammy award. Oh, wait, you already did that. Shoshana Bean is coming, and she's going to perform. Her voice is amazing. Amazing. What do you think about Shoshana coming?
Oh, I mean, she's absolutely remarkable. It's she's got pipes like nobody could imagine. She's talented, she's well known, and she's a huge advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. So bringing her talent and her personal commitment to our community to the stage here at Hard Rock is a no-brainer, really.
You know, it's exciting to see such a high degree of professionalism. The venue, the commitment to the music, the commitment to a Grammy, Tony winning professional. It's a real opportunity. And when you combine that in the same sentence with LGBTQ, all of us, regardless of whether we're in the chorus or not, can be proud of this moment of what we're getting to see our community to do. One of the things I wanted to mention to you and get a reaction from is we have been doing some research. Our crack newsroom doing some research. We think upon completion of your sellout here, which I know you're going to sell out, your sellout at Hard Rock Live is going to be the single largest locally produced LGBTQ musical event ever in Florida. Wow. More people will be watching that event live, locally produced, not a national tour, for LGBT than anything ever done in Florida, and then that'll become history. What do you think about
The pressure
that?
just came back to me.
RuPaul just came back in my head again.
Yeah.
Don't F it up. But what do you think about that, of the history that the Gay Men's Chorus South Florida moves into the history books of being able to sell that number of tickets in a venue like this to so many people? That's never happened in Florida before.
I mean, to me, it just shows how much our presence and is needed in our community, and it's just such an amazing. I mean, I had no idea until you just said that. So it's such an honor to be a part of such an organization that will do that. So.
And Mark, what do you think about
that? From my perspective, I'm like, that's great, but we're just getting started.
Yeah.
This is Gabe's still early stages with this course, and I have to tell you, artistically, he has elevated who we are and what we do in the most spectacular way. And again, he's just getting started. So I'm excited about that. But you know what? The South Florida community deserves it. This is one of the largest, the second largest concentration of LGBTQ plus people of anywhere in the country. And we need to have stellar events where large numbers of people in our community come together and affirm who we are.
Mark, I ask you, Gabe, being the whippersnapper that he is, doesn't have enough experience yet, I don't think, to my question, but you do. You've been here a while in the community. You've been with the chorus for a long time as executive director. You sat and watched two of the most difficult years our community has ever seen, period. Drop mic, that's it. 2 years. Most difficult ever. Everything literally came to a stop. For an organization like you, which is a 501c3, it's a nonprofit, you're not a for-profit organization, you're not a business, to go through those 2 years and be in a situation where you're in performance, which means you've got to gather to enjoy the experience. What were those 2 years for you as executive director like?
Frightening. To be honest with you, it turns out the worst thing you can do in a COVID-19 time is sing. The aerosols that are released through the singing process are really about as dangerous as it gets. And one of the things that always strikes me about nonprofits is they are driven by people with heart and passion. And that's not only the people who work there and the people who benefit, but the people who support it. And during that time, we brought all of our expertise and our intellect and our skills to the table. But we survived. We made it through because of the heart and the passion and the support of our community. This is not our success story as much as it's the success story of the South Florida community.
It's everyone's success story.
It is.
We could celebrate the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, and it's a victory for all of us.
For everybody.
A victory for all of us. That being said, you went through these tough times. You're roaring back now. I hear what you're saying about the future in 2023. You have a guy assuming that on December 18th, he doesn't pull the RuPaul move, and everything's going to go fantastic. What can we do, our community in South Florida, what can we do to help support the community?
Well,
and the chorus?
I think the most important thing is to be involved. We have a mission, to make the world a better place for all people, but this shouldn't be a passive experience for the South Florida community. Volunteer with us, audition, support us financially. Our ticket sales and our earned income only pay for half of what we do. The rest of it, we rely on grants and generous individuals to make happen. And we will be as big and as wonderful and as powerful as this community allows us to be.
It's exciting times to watch you and see what's going to happen next. What, however, is absolutely next is December 18th here at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel in the Hard Rock Live. Come out early, have dinner here. Perhaps you want to make a weekend of it and stay at the hotel. I've stayed at the Guitar many times. It's a treat.
It's an amazing property.
Is a treat. And then to be able to go to Hard Rock Live, it is just a complete bullseye and absolutely a great reflection and respect for the LGBTQ community. Sunday, December 18th. There are not many tickets left, so you better hurry. We've spent the time talking about the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida because this is one of the sentinel organizations that represents us all. Mark Kent, Executive Director, Gabe Salazar, Artistic Director. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm really sorry to have pulled you out into this, and it's so difficult.
I know.
But
What a rough
Suffering.
life we have.
This horrible suffering we're going through.
thank you. Al Ferguson at Queer News Tonight. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.